what was your inspiration for this latest launch?
Thank you so much. The inspiration really was my children because once you become a mom, you become a lot more conscious of what you're eating, how you're feeding your family, um, eating the rainbow, selecting foods that can heal you inside and out, right? As we're talking about. And I just felt like there was definitely a need for a resource for busy working families. Because let's face it, kids today, they've grown up watching Top Chef, Food Network, they're doing cooking videos on TikTok. There's a big interest in food among children today, I think, which is fantastic. And I think the earlier you can expose them to new flavors that may seem exotic, you're going to set them up for a lifetime of success, right? And also, you know, uh, so many of us parents today have been lucky enough to travel to different countries all over the world. So, you know what, when you go out and dine with your kids today, whereas when you would go to a mini mall in the past, you'd find just pizza and donuts. Today, you might find a poke bar or an empanada bar.
Yeah.
You can find Korean meatballs at California Pizza Kitchen. You can find um, all sorts of ethnically inspired dishes at mainstream restaurants. So I knew there was an appetite for it. But not only that, I just felt like, learning about other cultures, um, exploring diversity, the easiest way to do that is through food. And it's a gateway for children to learn about other cultures and to be open-minded and become global citizens. So I think that this was also really important for families, especially with what's going on today in our country, in our culture. It's just terrifying,
Yeah.
honestly, to be Asian
Mhm.
American today. And I felt like this could be just like a little step in the right direction, right? As the Passionistas say, food and cuisine is such a touch point to learn about other cultures and to learn about diversity. And then you can open the conversation up. Maybe you're serving some Hungarian stew, but let's just talk a little bit about where it came from, the
The
symbolism,
story.
right? And that's why I also included 4 cultural celebrations in the book, such as Lunar New Year with my dear friend Jeannie Mai and her mom, the Mama Mai, Greek Easter with Debbie Matenopoulos and my BFF Christos Garkinos from the Dukes of Melrose on Bravo. Also, Hanukkah, we're raising them Jewish. My husband is Jewish, so we're a blended family. And Faye Levy, she's a renowned Jewish food writer. She contributed the recipes for this section. And Nate Berkus and Jeremiah Brent are also featured in this section. Funny aside story about Nate Berkus.
Yes.
I met him at a dinner party a couple of years ago, and the host introduced me and said, "Oh, this is Katie Chan. Her mom was a really famous chef and restaurateur from Minneapolis." And then I didn't even realize he was from Minneapolis. And he stood up and said, "I'm from Minneapolis, and your mom catered my bar mitzvah." And I was like, what? And all the
Wow.
guests were like, what are you talking about? And he was so sweet. He came over to me, he gave me his number. And he was like, believe it or not, your mom and my mom knew each other because they worked at the same dress shop when I was a baby. And my mom would bring
Oh
me
my
Wow.
to the dress
gosh.
shop in a playpen. So
I
my
can't
mom knew him
believe
as a
it.
baby. Which is so funny.
That's
So
amazing.
I offered to cook him a classic Leantian dinner, but I was so terrified about having him come to my house because I'm like, it's hard enough to perfect the meal, but I didn't want him stepping on my kids' Legos, and
Yeah.
judging my home. So we did it, like fabulous Gabe couple's house. They came, but he's become a great friend and was so generous to participate in my book. So anyway, I'm very proud of this book because I think we really need to try to celebrate our differences as
Yes.
opposed to, right.
I got to say
Yeah.
something about
Yes.
Katie. I have about 3 of her books. She makes things so simple and doable that you're not intimidated. Sometimes you read, I have friends who tell me when they read the recipes, they're so complicated, they don't want to even try the recipe. Her book is not like that. It is doable. And I mean, unlike her mother who said, you can substitute, Mom, she said, no, Katie's not like that. And I think for different generation, you've got to be a little flexible, especially during COVID time. You can't be going out and shopping, finding all the whatever you need.
Little.
But she makes it so easy, and you can substitute. You don't have to be, from scratch. And I think that really lends into busy lives of people of today. And that's why I love her cookbooks. I love the latest one, the Global Cookbook, and because it's featured from recipes all over. But the recipes that really intrigue me, Katie, and I'm going to try them all, is all the Jewish recipes.
Oh, I love it.
I want to do that one with the noodles and the sour cream, the sweet one. I got to do that one.
Delicious. Though, I mean, I can't take credit for any of those recipes, but Faye Levy, she is a renowned food writer, and all her recipes are dynamite. And as I said earlier, before we started this, May Chandran is my new agent. Thank you, May.
Yeah. I seriously mean it. In fact, I bought your books. I've given them to friends, because it is that good. It is that doable. And it's the book of our time, because it is not just one type of cooking. You have from all over the world. And that's what we are right now. We're diverse. And that's a book of the times. Yeah.
I mean, Katie, I relate to that so much. I'm half Filipino, half English. My mom's from Philippines. My dad's from England. They met in Hong Kong. I lived in Hong Kong and India, and then Istanbul and Turkey, and then the UK before moving to the US. And so when you were just talking about exposing children to all these different food and cultures, and it really is a gateway to being curious more about a different culture and learning the meaning behind it, and where did it originate, and what is the traditional way of doing it. And I love also the different chefs that are blending different cuisines together as well. And I really credit, my parents exposing me to all these different, cuisines as a way of me becoming a global, like you said, I identify as an international citizen. And so I really love the intentionality that you brought to this book, and the fact that you also highlighted the 4 different celebrations. I think that's so amazing, because here in the US, it's not just Christmas. It's not just, Easter, like our Lunar New Year, and everything that, and Hanukkah as well, and everything like that. So I love that you bring that